It's the year 1100. I'm standing on top of our great earthen mound looking over the most powerful city in North America. 30,000 people live here in Cahokia, more than London or Paris at this time, and we've built a civilization that's absolutely bussin'. Our trade networks stretch from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico, our astronomy is on point, and our agricultural system feeds everyone. But here's the thing that's really going to mess with your head. In about 400 years, some random Europeans are going to show up, call this place empty wilderness, and act like we never existed. My name is, well, we'll talk about why you don't know my name, and this is the AP US History My Story podcast. So let's be real about why I'm an anonymous American Indian in your textbook and why nobody knows my name or anyone else's. We use oral tradition to pass down our stories, and our writing isn't built to survive the centuries because it's not in stone. But even with that drawback, Cahokia isn't some primitive village, no cap. We're talking about an urban center with planned neighborhoods, public plazas, and monumental architecture that rivaled anything in Europe at that time. The mound I'm standing on, it's over 100 feet tall and covers more ground than the Great Pyramid of Egypt. We built this with sophisticated engineering, we coordinated thousands of workers, and we created something that'll last for centuries. You can go see the Cahokia Mounds today. They're about 8 miles east of what you call St. Louis, Missouri. Our trade game is insane. I've got copper from the Great Lakes, shells from the Gulf Coast, obsidian from the Rockies, and mica from the Appalachians flowing through our markets. We're the economic hub of North America, controlling trade routes that span thousands of miles. The agricultural system we've developed, pure genius. We're growing corn, beans, and squash together, the three sisters we call them, in a sustainable rotation that feeds our massive population. We've domesticated plants, managed forests, and created food surpluses that support artists, astronomers, and specialized craftspeople. Our astronomical knowledge is off the charts. We've aligned our entire city with celestial movements, predicted eclipses, and created calendars more accurate than anything the Europeans are using. It's a sophisticated astronomical observatory that tracks the sun, moon, and stars with incredible precision. But sure, we're the primitive ones. Here's what really gets me about the whole situation. We're not isolated. We're connected to hundreds of other indigenous communities across the continent, each with our own innovations, governments, and cultural achievements. The Anasazi in the Southwest are building incredible cliff dwellings. The peoples of the Pacific Northwest are creating complex fishing technologies, and the Eastern Woodland tribes have sophisticated agricultural systems. This continent is absolutely thriving with diverse, advanced civilizations. You want to know how various native populations interacted with the natural environment before European contact? We literally shaped this entire continent. What Europeans will call pristine wilderness is actually a carefully managed landscape that we had been cultivating for thousands of years. Our relationship with the environment isn't about conquest, it's about partnership. We take what we need and we give back to the ecosystem. Seasonal migrations follow animal patterns and plant cycles. Hunting and gathering practices ensure species don't get overharvested. Construction projects work with natural landforms instead of bulldozing through them. But here's the really messed up part about how this story gets told later. When evil Europeans like Hernan Cortez show up in episode 1.5, he gets celebrated for discovering and conquering civilizations that had been here for millennia. That guy murdered entire cities full of people who had more advanced agricultural, astronomical, and European planning knowledge than Europeans did, but somehow he's the hero and we're just anonymous Indians. The environmental knowledge we've developed over thousands of years, Europeans will ignore all of it, then spend centuries trying to farm in ways that destroy the soil, cut down forests without understanding ecosystem relationships, and generally treat the land like an enemy to be defeated instead of a partner to work with. You want to know something that's really going to blow your mind? Many of the foods Europeans will take back to Europe and call their own innovations, corn, potatoes, tomatoes, chocolate, vanilla, we developed those through thousands of years of careful plant breeding and agricultural innovation. Without our agricultural knowledge, European populations would have stayed small and probably never would have been able to launch their age of exploration. And here's the really effed up part that's going to make you sick. While we're giving Europeans the agricultural knowledge that saves their entire continent from starvation, they bring us diseases that will literally wipe out 90% of our population. Smallpox, measles, typhus, diseases we have no immunity to because we've been living on a different continent. We're talking about the largest population collapse in human history, and it's not an accident. Europeans will figure out pretty quickly that disease is their most effective weapon against us. Finally, the other and last tragic part of this story is that Cahokia will decline before Europeans even arrive, probably due to climate change and resource management challenges, but the knowledge, the innovations, the environmental wisdom we've developed, that didn't disappear. It gets passed down through our communities who will still be here when those European explorers show up. What they'll call empty wilderness will actually be empty because 90% of us died from their diseases. The virgin land they'll claim to discover, that's our graveyards, our abandoned cities, our fields going back to forests because there's nobody left to tend them. They'll build their new world on top of our mass graves and then act like they're heroes for civilizing the wilderness. So the next time you're learning about those brave explorers and founding fathers, remember that they built their entire civilization on our knowledge, our land, and literally our bones. Every city, every farm, every American achievement you'll hear about in the next 85 episodes, it's all on top of indigenous innovations, indigenous land taken, and indigenous people erased from the story we deserved to tell ourselves. Like, follow, and share the AP US History My Story podcast, because these stories hit different when you hear the original voices that shaped our country.